Hey everybody, welcome back. My name's Eric and I'm a music producer and performer from Denver, Colorado. And I wanted to show you a little bit about how I have my live set up that I've been working on now. It's kind of a new thing and I've been working on putting it together, and I wanted to share some of the things that I've worked through to get it the way that I like it. And hopefully that can help some of you figure out maybe the way that you'd like to set up your live set and get things going and kind of step into this world of live improvisational electronic music. I had a lot of questions after I put out a video last week just showing a first kind of techno live jam that I did, and people were asking about what pieces of equipment that I used and why and what was connected to what and what was controlling what, because it's just a whole bunch of knobs and buttons and flashing lights if we're not sure exactly what it is. So I wanted to do this video just to show everybody exactly what that is and how it's set up, and how I've set this up to be able to be used as a real live improvisational performance setup. I wanted to try and get away from the idea, first of all, of DJing, which I love to do, but wanted to try something new and get more into the music performance side, which I've done with live instruments all my life, but I wanted to be able to do that more with electronic instruments here. The interesting thing about this is that a lot of the live performances that I saw, a lot of the live sets that I saw were preset, predetermined, and kind of set up already. A lot of different, loops and patterns that were all set and ready to go, and they were just being unmuted and muted and a few little effects. And what I want to try to do is build a live set now that is geared much more towards improvisation. There's a lot more ability to manipulate the sound live while you play, rather than just playing something that's kind of a stemmed out version of pre-recorded. So looking to do this a little different way. Definitely an extra challenge to do it that way, but it's something that gets back to that improvisation and music production on the fly idea that I've been working around for a little while. So without any further ado, let's get into the gear, and I'll show you a little bit about how the set works, how it's set up, and what it is. And then I'm going to do a few videos coming up here in the next week or so about the technical side of how I connected things, particularly through the MIDI chain, and then how I connect the audio to be able to run through the system. And I'll do a couple little videos on those. So I look forward to seeing you back here for those. In the meantime, let's get into the live set. All right, so here we go. The first part of the setup we have is the Octatrack, which is right here, and that controls the MIDI tempo, the MIDI clock of all of the other units. It's also where all of the audio from the other units all gathers together so that we can go through the Octatrack and use the Octatrack's internal effects as a master out, and then the master out goes out from here. Right now it's going out to Ableton Live to record, but it could also go out to an amp or powered speakers or whatever. But that is where the master out goes out to. This right here is the PC12 from Faderfox. The reason we have this set up here, the purpose it serves, is to kind of help get over some of the menu diviness that can happen with the Electron boxes. So for example, with the Electrons, if I wanted to adjust a filter on channel 3, on track 3, I would have to hit track 3 and then the filter and then do the adjustment. And if I wanted to adjust one then on track 1, I would hit track 1, whichever effect I wanted to do, then do the adjustment. And then if I wanted to do another one, and it's one by one by one. With this, I have channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can adjust, for example, filter cutoffs on 2 different ones at the same time. I can adjust different volume levels, all one right next to the other, without having to dig through any different menus or dive through any of that stuff. I've also got some effect sends here. I've got a pitch control. I've got a couple of other different effects here, and I'm in the process of remapping this right now. So right now I have these 8 channels controlling the 8 channels of the Octatrack, and these 4 aren't doing anything for the moment. What this is going to be doing eventually in my setup is that these 4, actually in groups of 3 by 3, are going to be controlling the 8 channels in the Octatrack. These 4 will control the Digitone, and these 4 will control my analog 4, which I have set up right now. And so that way I'll be able to get through all of those different menus from one section without having to dive through them. Next up, we have the Novation Launch Control. This is set up to control the Digitakt, and very much for the same reason as the PC12 controls the Octatrack. A lot of menu diving in the Digitakt, and I'm trying to set this whole thing up so that it can be improvisational for performance, rather than just hitting play and muting and unmuting loops that are pre-done. I want to be able to actually perform. So to give you an idea, these 8 tracks here control the 8 sample sequencer tracks in the Digitakt, and then I have some commonly used effects for each channel mapped to these knobs up here. So the top row is a reverb send, the second row is a delay send, and the bottom row is actually a pitch control up and down. I use the Digitakt mostly for percussion sounds, and it's nice to be able to have a bank of 8 sounds that I can change pretty dramatically with pitch and things like that to turn into a lot of different percussion sounds. Makes it very musical and very performative. Okay, so to give you an example, if we hit play here, so I've got a few different percussion sounds on each one of these channels. So a bunch of different kind of common percussion sounds, but what's interesting about this is that I can change them around a lot. So let's say I'm using this sound in the track that I'm doing, and I decide that I want that as a different sound, a little bit pitched differently. I can pitch it way up for something else, or in the middle, or way down. And then I've got delay sends. And then finally a reverb send. So that's just one sound that can be used in any number of different ways in any track. Got things like claps here. So if we have a clap, same thing, we can pitch it up. So that's more like a snap, much lower. And again, we can add effects like delays or reverbs. And then we can do these in different combinations with different things. So that just gives you an idea of a little bit the flexibility that's possible when you've got all of that stuff mapped here, rather than having to, function track 1, go to the menu for the delay, change the delay, then switch to track 3, go to the menu, change the reverb, go back to track 2, change the pitch. So it gives you a lot of possibility to do all of that in one space without having to dive through the menus. I still use the menus a lot when I'm doing sound design and when I'm actually putting together the live sets and kind of figuring out what I want to do, because I like the hands-on of the machine itself and having a bunch of different parameters. But then once I get it all set up and it comes time for performance, I like to have it mapped like this so that I can use it for more performative aspects. Next up, we have the analog rhythm, and this one I don't have mapped to any controller because actually the layout of this unit is really lends itself really well to performance. So for example, you've got a mute page where you can mute and unmute, combinations of tracks or however you'd like this to go. So really easy to mute and unmute things all at once, all 12 drum tracks. Then you have a chromatic mode, so you can play like chromatically, so you can actually play melodies on here if you'd like to during a performance. You have scenes and performance modes, so you can set those up for different things. Touch sensitive pads, so that the harder you push, the more you get of certain effects that you've mapped to that. So it's very performative this way, so it doesn't really need to be mapped to a controller, much less menu diving. The menu diving in this is really to develop the sounds. It's really to do the sound design create the individual drum sounds, because there's 8 different drum synths on 12 tracks here. So there's a lot of possibility, and then you can layer each one of those drum synths and each one of those drum tracks with samples as well, or you can replace them with a sample, or you can just do them by themselves. There's a lot of flexibility with this, and a lot of the menu stuff, again, is during the sound design phase and not so much the performance phase. The performance phase, it's actually set up really, really well for that, so no reason to have to dig too deep into that. And then finally over here, we have Digitone, which is an FM synthesizer. It's got 4 different tracks, so it gives us 4 sequenced tracks of individual FM synths, so synth sounds and different performance possibilities here. So we've got you hear like very, very FM-y sounds. And then you can add in So now, just to give you an idea how it all comes together. So you've got different tracks here, the 4 different FM synth tracks, and then you've got bringing percussions. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to, once it's all set up, which kind of takes some time and is tedious and not the most fun part about making music, but once it is all set up, it can be set up in a way that's really very much geared towards performance and improvisation. This is a bit different because there's a lot of different ways to be able to actually perform and manipulate the sounds and actually write music on the fly and improvise music on the fly. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you got something out of this. If it was, I would love for if you could like the video and subscribe and hit the little bell so I can put out some more of these videos. It definitely helps us grow the channel. If you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. And otherwise, please check out the different things that we've done here. I'm going to link to the performance video that went along with this so that you can see kind of what the end result is now that you have an idea about what each of the things is doing. I'll also be doing a couple of other videos on how the MIDI routing was done and then how the audio routing was done. So please keep your eyes out for those. Thanks very much, and I'll see you back soon.